I could see me. I think it's good.
Hello to all you patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 445 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the number one live podcast in Canada, recorded March 24th, 2025.
Give me a second. I fucked my whole computer up. My screen went for
That's all right. We
twice.
made it through the intro. That's all that matters.
Yeah. All right. We need your help, apparently, for IT lessons for myself. Um, to support the Canadian Patriot Podcast, visit patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You can get a better quality version of the show, just $1 per episode. Show you're not a communist. Buy a CPP t-shirt, just $24.99 plus shipping and theft. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com homepage and follow the link on the right.
So that brings us to our favorite segment of the show. What are we drinking? And something off of the Patriot Challenge. Eric, what are you drinking this evening, good sir?
Uh, Finishing off the proper 12 from last week,
Nice.
Nice.
This
believe it
bottle
or
didn't
not.
last
So,
you very long.
yeah, they tend not to when you're
Well,
stressed. In
politically
the
motivated, yeah.
yeah, that too. Yes. So that and water, because today up until the proper 12 was a fasting day. So we had a family dinner last night. I was doing culinary things, burritos and taco bowls,
Nice.
and then
Nice.
yeah, and that didn't sit well this morning. So. And then, but finishing a skill, I was, as mentioned earlier, was practicing my tiling and grouting. And let's just say I'm glad the customer would pay for this one because I would have lost a lot more money than I'm already losing.
Yeah, it happens. I mean, but
Yeah.
it's good that you're practicing those things so that,
Practicing that. Yeah. Other
yeah,
than that, it's been a pretty mundane week, sadly.
that's all right.
Hey.
Sometimes those slow weeks are the best weeks.
Yeah, I did. I tripped over my knapsack 4 times today, though, going in and out of the shop. So I think tomorrow's the day I should probably put it on and start hiking again. So
Well, yeah.
just the 2 inches of snow I had when I woke up yesterday just put a damper on everything. So
For once, everybody's complaining about 2 inches, right?
Yeah.
It being too much.
Take it when you can. Yeah.
yeah, as I tell my wife, I do the best I can with what little I got.
Yeah.
Uh,
And she appreciates you for it.
Here, what are you
uh,
drinking? And what skill have you practiced this week?
so I'm drinking 40 Creek. Ran out of Jameson and I didn't have a spare bottle, so that's the thing I'm gonna work on.
Well, it's a good thing we're
Uh,
not having a tax war with Ireland
yeah,
because you'll be able to go
yeah, I
get
know.
one of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that was the best thing when Mel told me. She was just like, "Oh, there's this tariff thing. They're taking all the American booze out." And I looked and I was like, "Okay, I got 12-year-old Glenlivet." I was like, "That comes from Scotland." I was like, 15-year Scotland, Jameson, Ireland, Signal Hill, Canada, 40 Creek, Canada. My list stops there. Don't fucking drink anything else, really. So I was like, we're good. So yeah, drinking 40 Creek and some water, obviously. Doing the water thing. A little bit of a staycation this week. So as the pre-show, I was talking with Gavin. I'm back at my reloading bench that is not ready to reload ammo, but I got to the bench. So
Yeah.
just getting some stuff. Like
Yeah.
I got to the bench.
Step one. Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the area that I'm in and we plan on doing stuff has kind of been like during the winter months, like throw it out there area. So it's like we always take I always take a week off for our anniversary. It's our 2-year wedding anniversary and 14 years being together. Always take it off whether we go somewhere or not. And I'm just like, yes, everybody's like, oh, a vacation, sit around and do nothing. But I'm like, you know what, getting chores done around the house that I don't feel like doing when I get home from work is time well spent, in my opinion. I'm off work, my work phone's off, and no distractions. Uh, Hanging out with the dogs, the daughter, the wife, and getting chores done around the house is good. So, still taking it easy this week, so there probably won't be too much other skills done. But uh, yeah, finding lots of supplies for the yearly changeover of the bags and the personal truck, work truck, and everything. So yeah, just getting a little more organized and everything. So that's about it for me.
Nice.
What about you, Gavin?
I am drinking some Signal Hill and Diet Pepsi this evening. Um, Things that I've done off the Patriot Challenge, getting my reading in. I'm almost finished that Fauci book. It's quite long. He is
Yeah.
quite the shitbag. So if you've got 20 something hours to dedicate to listening to it or reading it, if you're faster reading, by all means do so.
Yeah. Worth
But
it?
it it's a lot of well, so it's not repetitive because he keeps talking about different things, but it's repetitive in that, like, oh
He's
look,
just a shitty person.
yeah, he did the same, like a different thing, but like the same pattern over and over and over and over and over and over and it just kind of goes through all of them. So it's repetitive in that means.
Yeah.
But you could just, I mean, like read it if you want to, or listen to it if you've got the time. But you could also just take my word for it, and RFK's word for it that yeah, he is a terrible person, and
Yeah.
deserves all of the bad things that may or may not happen to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, so doing the readings, fine, almost done that. We'll be done that this week, hopefully, and then I can read something different. I might go back to a fiction book because I need a little entertainment rather than just like one giant black pill. Um,
Another Andy McNabb book.
yeah, probably. I've done most of them.
Have you done Bravo 20? Is
No, I can't find that one on an audiobook. I've read a bunch of it or done a bunch of his other ones, but I'll keep looking for that one because it is on the list. But
yeah,
all of the other
it's
ones I've done about like his fiction books and his nonfiction books, and they've all been fucking great.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. But his
so
nonfiction of one of the reasons he got out of the SAS or whatever,
yeah,
the Scud Alley and everything, fantastic. But one of the first books I read that wasn't mandatory, and even the mandatory ones in school I never read, and just bullshitted my way through everything by like
yeah,
copying the person next to me. So one of the only books I've
yeah.
ever
You've pulled a
first read,
Carney.
but yeah,
Nice. Yeah,
don't,
it's on my list
don't
of
like
ones to
cabbage.
do because yeah,
Yeah,
I've done a
And his
bunch of
name is
his
Pierre. Notice the
yeah,
irony.
yeah. But doing that, I was at the range the other day, so got to put a few rounds down
Oh,
and
nice.
practice,
oh
so that was
nice,
good. Yeah. Had a few new shooters on the line.
nice.
A guy that
And
just joined one of our pistol clubs and is waiting for his RPAL. Hopefully he'll be able to buy a pistol in the near future. And then he had brought a friend who had never shot before, so I was the one to get him out there and
nice.
instruct them on how to put their hands on a gun, and was there when they fired their first few rounds. So it was pretty awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, I
That's
can't complain at
also
all.
that's also a thing I'm working on because our daughter's friends' parents
Yeah,
plan on getting more livestock, and they were like, "Well, we're going for a license then. Coyotes are
absolutely.
gonna come around, this, that, everything, right?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, you ever shot a gun? Both of them. Nope. I was like, you call, I will bring everything that I still have allegedly that may be legal, and the other things I may have accidentally lost in a horrible
Yeah.
boating accident. But we'll bring it out.
Yeah.
I was like, get comfortable with it. It was like, ask questions. I was like, I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I was just like, I'll give you my personal feedback, or I'll get more info if it's something I don't know from lots
Yeah.
of people. But I'm just like, yeah, like be smart, get
Yeah.
comfortable with it.
I
And
mean, yeah,
yeah, I
if you've got a
I
rural
can't wait.
property and you're gonna be having any
Yeah,
sort of livestock, I would say that it is definitely a necessity. I mean, for yeah,
100%. Yeah,
keeping predators away, or even just like, if you've got to dispatch one of your animals for whatever reason, like
yeah,
it's the quickest and most humane way to deal with that, right?
yeah.
Just, I mean,
Yeah,
you don't need to
go.
pay the fucking vet to come out and do that for you and like cost you all
Yeah,
kinds of money when you could just
yeah.
quickly and painlessly solve that
Yeah.
problem and then away you
As long
go.
as you do shot placement properly, you're fucking
Yeah.
golden, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Don't try and
exactly.
kill it by shooting a toe off. It's not gonna
No.
work. But
Yeah.
learn the vitals, get her done. It's part of the circle of life. You've got livestock. Do it yourself.
Nice. Well,
My 2 cents.
Liz will be here at some point, and when she is, we'll flip things
Get
back
back
to
to her.
her, and she can tell us what she is drinking and what she has done for the Patriot Challenge over these last few weeks where she has been absent. But
Yes.
we'd love to hear your feedback. So please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Version of the show is available on iTunes and maybe some other places, but we're not entirely sure. Upcoming events, the Varista Lake Remote Military March, April 25th to 27th. Get your group of friends together and go for a hike. Knock off your Patriot Challenge stuff then. Just 25K or 50 if you plan to do like recon and camp out. That's the most fun one, but like just get out there, go for a hike with your friends. Even if you can't do the 25K, even if you can only do 5, it's better than doing nothing. So get out there,
Yeah.
get some exercise, some fresh air.
Is the first link with the minimum to qualify
Ye-
for something? Is it 5 kilometers over 4 days? Or is that
No,
the
so
other one?
that's the residual one that should be coming up
That's
after
the one I
that.
keep
Yeah,
confusing. Okay.
Varistoleka is you have a weekend to complete it, but it needs to be a minimum of 25 kilometers in one day or 50 kilometers over 2 days. And speak of
Ooh.
the devil, there she is.
Good day, me lady.
Well, we can't hear you though.
You sounded disappointment.
just
She was
said a
just like,
bad word.
fuck. She
Yeah.
was like, fuck.
Liz would never swear. She is a good Christian woman.
Oh, I've heard her.
I've been there
I will keep
present
telling
when it's
you about
happened.
events though. So yes, Resu will be coming up after that. The Army Run will be coming up again in September, as it always is. If you register now, you can save yourself a couple of dollars. And as we know, everything is crazy expensive, at least for now. So, you can go and get that sorted. All right. Well, Liz continues to get her audio sorted.
I don't know if you can hear us. We can't hear you.
We will start the
Can you-
news.
This is
There,
where-
there we go.
Hey!
Oh,
Apparently that was the magic word. Say start
Yeah.
and everything works.
Yeah,
too many options.
it's true.
Yes.
But
Is
there's
your
only one
computer
that
named
matters.
Hal,
Yeah.
perhaps?
Now you're really
Yeah.
dating yourself.
I was gonna say you're too old, Eric.
Yeah.
But yes, what are you drinking this evening, Liz? And something you've
Moscato.
done off the Patriot Challenge.
Uh,
You can make it up. It's fine. Don't worry. Just
Yeah.
lie. We won't know.
I just feel like I don't know why, but that question just,
Offended you
know.
deeply?
no, it just caught me off guard.
Oh.
I don't know.
We do it
Learning
every
new
episode.
things. I know. But for some reason, it's been a while since I've been off. So for some reason, yeah, it's just, I'm always learning something new. There you go.
Well, that's good. Practicing handling being in crowds. You were recently at a
Ah,
musical venue.
yeah, it was awful.
How did that go? Yeah.
I mean, it was great. I had a lot of fun with my niece.
That's
I
good.
take the kids like to a big activity when they turn 15. So
So that was the
we went-
activity.
yeah,
Nice.
so it was river dance.
Yeah.
So we went and saw that, which was nice. That was great.
Kids are the worst.
Okay.
They're the best, but also the fucking worst.
See, I choose to do this, so it's my own fault.
No,
Um,
like
My
the
nephew, I
intention
took
and
him
everything.
to like Urban Tactical and we shot a lot of guns. That was his birthday.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
But-
always a good choice too.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, kids are the worst because sometimes when you give them the option of like, hey, what do you want to do? I want to do something. They come up with really shitty ideas.
Yeah, but
So-
see, the difference is that like these aren't Liz's kids, so she can just like give them back at the end of the day. When it's your kid, Pierre, you kind of stuck with them for life.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
that. And like I chose this because it was either this or the opera.
Yeah, I think you
So-
made the right choice.
I just
By hanging
yeah.
or death by firing squad?
Yeah.
Huh.
If it's not Wagner, I don't want to see the opera. That's fine.
There's
On to
not
the
a
news.
whole lot else to
Yeah.
do. So
Yeah. If you haven't heard, an election was called.
yeah.
Yes. Mm. Let's keep it to a minimum. I can only get so erect.
Yeah. So hopefully, very shortly on April 28th, the Canadians will go to the polls and make a very important decision. Hopefully, the decision is that Carney is terrible in the trial that we have had over the last couple of weeks of what it would be like if he wins.
Oh,
I
I
would
have
say that
zero hope in this.
yeah.
I am like already longing for the days of Trudeau because at least they weren't this bad. They were bad, like really bad. But
Yeah.
I don't think they will be anywhere close to as bad as if this guy continues to be our prime minister. And I can't believe I'm saying that because it's like this whole show started because Trudeau came into power
Oh,
and
dang.
has stayed on because it's so awful. But this is going to be
Didn't
worse.
somebody just say that like Carney's scarier because he's like Trudeau's just stupider version? I
Yeah, and
pretty
he
much
smells
heard
like
that.
cabbage.
Okay. Well, I
Small
heard that
hands, yeah.
one. Okay. I
Who's
don't get it.
stupider?
Trudeau is, right?
Oh,
So that's why
yeah.
Carney's
Voters.
actually
Yes.
more
Oh yeah, that's
I still-
probably
more petrifying
Yeah.
because
It's-
like
It's
they have the same ideologies and they're coached by the same people, but Carney's
Well,
more intellectual, like he's
And
more
he was one of the
strategic.
coaches,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's wild.
it'll be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, here we are, election time.
April 23rd. Is that what I'm hearing?
28th, the Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Putting in
Conveniently,
the
my
calendar.
next range day is scheduled for the day before. And I have already
Oh.
sent out an email to members of my pistol clubs and reminded them of the election and that they should go out and vote. And when they
especially
do
if
go to
like the
vote,
Pistol Club.
I won't tell them who to vote for, but I do ask that they keep preserving the firearm sports in their mind when they do.
I don't know why you don't. The federal government's unions tell everybody how to vote.
Oh, they
So
certainly do. Yeah.
this is what I have to say to
But-
PSAC. Put me on
Yeah.
the list. I don't care.
We talking unions tonight? I need another
Well,
drink.
that's all part
no.
of it. Yeah.
Oh,
I just
But yes, they will
wanted a good
gladly
swirly
yeah,
pop.
they will gladly tell you who to go and vote for. And I will
Yeah.
too. Go and vote
I mean-
conservative.
Yeah, you're like go
It's-
and don't vote for liberal.
Yeah.
I mean, at least the conservatives will buy you dinner before they date rape you.
Yeah. That's
that-
what
From the
really
sounds of
matters.
it, at least.
Okay.
Yes, the electoral process is underway. There's a couple of new ridings this year.
Mm.
So we
Wonder
now
why.
went from population growth. So occasionally they will go
Hmm.
and like redo some of these things. So
out west. Yeah.
well, I think
Huh?
in general, but I think that's probably one of the bigger ones. So yeah, the article I have here is all about Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they've got a couple of new
Saskatchewan.
yeah, so Saskatchewan has
Saskatchewan.
14, a whopping 14 electoral districts. 3 of them encompassed West Central Saskatchewan.
So
Yeah.
before we get deeper than that, I'm just gonna laugh at the article that's here. You scroll down, and not to make fun of people's names, but they vote
Do it.
for FAC out there.
They all what?
FALK, but
Yeah.
FAC.
Oh,
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Or
Um,
Falk, as in Peter Falk.
Yeah, that's using all the letters and syllables and not using them to your advantage. We don't do that. But I don't know. I saw blue signs, so I mean, keep voting, obviously. But
yeah.
yeah,
I don't hold much hope.
I
I'm
don't-
kind of
No,
with you, Liz. I mean, it's sad to say, but I think
we're fucked.
the general
matter what.
Canadian populace
Oh.
is as dumb as they come.
Yeah.
The trouble is like I said, I think I said on a comment was it'd be nice if everybody got out and voted to see what it really was like.
Well, and so that I mean that's part of the problem. So like looking at some polls over some things that have gone out for previous elections, there was like 12% of the population or whatever that like didn't vote at all. No, sorry, it was a poll that came out recently and who people were
Yeah.
going to vote for. And
And 12% said they're not voting at all.
Yeah. And it's like,
which
well,
is like stupid.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
like so clearly you're not against voting in general because you voted in the poll to tell people that you weren't going to go and vote.
Yeah.
Or like you could have just not responded at all.
Yeah, which is
But
what I do.
yeah. But
Trouble
you'll
is, people when you talk to people like that, they're like, well, I just don't gonna bother because my vote doesn't count. Well,
Everybody's does.
yeah,
yeah, and
everyone does. Everyone does, and that's the part that drives me crazy. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
I mean,
of an older vintage than you guys, and I have voted in every single election I could possibly vote in, even if it's like, ugh, here we go again.
Yeah, like you're almost boomer.
I would say this,
You're
But
that
I am-
like
I'm just
But I
saying
am
you're
not.
an individual vote for the most part really doesn't matter. But, and that's just because of our stupid system and the way that it works. However,
Sure.
if enough people have that shitty attitude, then enough people won't go out and vote and it will skew the results. Also,
Therefore,
if you
your vote
don't
counts.
participate in the system, you can't really
Yeah,
complain
you-
about the
you can't
system.
complain.
And it's
I agree.
literally like the easiest thing for you to go. Like, no one's really asking you to do anything that difficult other than to between this time and this time on this day. And it's a pretty wide window. Like, it's even a bigger window than when they say that they're going to come and hook up your cable, right? Like,
Yeah, it's even
you
better than
show up.
And like your
Yeah.
employment has to give you time off to vote.
Yeah.
So
that.
Well, and the
That's
best
what-
part
yeah.
is when you go to vote, you don't have to spell Twitter anymore. All you
Yeah.
have to do is spell X.
Yeah. Like, literally, you go and just like
yeah.
take the crayon and make a big X on the piece of paper next to the name of the person that
Yeah.
you want to pick. So
You
it
don't have to
really
spell bird anymore.
Speaking of
isn't
our
difficult.
system, I saw someone who's talking about, keeping our democracy and blah blah. Like, well, we don't have one of those.
No.
But I forget what it's a parliamentary something. But anyway, the
Yeah.
guy, I saw a little video. I'm sure you guys have seen it, but what an actual true democracy is. This is if you've got
Tar and feathers.
No, he explained it by
Oh.
if you have 10
Hemp and
people,
oak.
10 people or 10 people on an island, and nine vote to kill the one guy, and the one guy says, no, don't kill me. That's a democracy.
Yep.
Yeah.
He says, but if you have 100 people on an island and 10 people are representing the 100 and not, 8 of the 10 to vote not to kill the one guy, then you got to live with that decision. Sort of. I forget how that all worked, but that's
I'm
kind
a
of where
really
we were
big
at. So
fan of like referendums. I'm a really
Yeah.
big fan of countries that do referendums.
Well, and sort of that's one of the biggest
Legit
differences
ones.
yeah,
Legit ones.
Sure.
between
Yeah.
us and the United States, though, and that they have like their democratic republic, where the republic exists to protect the minority from the majority.
Yeah.
So like
Mhm.
people can't just vote to do shitty things to the minority, although it
Yeah.
seems that like that gets forgotten sometimes. But
Yeah.
at its core, that is the difference. Like you can't vote to kill the person because the individual and their rights trump the democracy part of the thing, at least on paper in theory. Whereas, yeah, our shitty thing is a third of the population gets to dictate how 2/3 of the population vote just because of how stupid our system
Yeah.
is.
If we want a referendum, I mean,
yeah,
obviously they know whoever.
Yeah.
I'm just reading the comments here. The problem says, if you don't like the current first past the post system, go and
Yep.
decline the ballot. It counts as a valid vote and sends a signal. And that's that's one thing. And then he also says Switzerland, and
Yeah,
I know
they have like
firsthand-
a hyper democracy where they vote on fucking everything.
well, my son,
But
my
Ireland
son's
does it
girlfriend.
too.
Don't they just have everybody machine guns in the fucking closet too?
Well, no, my son's girlfriend is
I thought that's
Swiss,
what he was going for.
Okay.
and they had a referendum. Within the last, I don't know, number of years. She's 20 something, early 20s.
Need
About-
to narrow that down at your age.
Yeah, no, shut up. But the ref that was put out as a referendum because they're of course are getting immigrants, but putting mosques in towns. They put it to a vote, got voted down, and they went, no, sorry, not doing that. Because
Yeah,
that's
but
what
I mean,
the people
that's-
wanted, and that's kind of what we
But
need
that's
here, something
direct
like that.
democracy, right? Like it's
Yeah.
let's for
So-
for
Ireland
every
does that too, I
decision,
think.
for every
Thanks for
decision,
pointing that
let's
out,
put it to the
Bravo.
people.
I'm.
Mm.
It's
I will
Something
say,
else
though-
sorry, something else to follow that though. is that there's a big difference between declining your ballot and spoiling your ballot. If you spoil your ballot, it doesn't get counted as you declining to vote.
Yes.
Yeah, I will
So-
say though, in this election, I really don't care how you feel. You should vote conservative, but if you do not like the system and you were going to vote Liberal or NDP or Bloc or Green, please definitely go in and spoil your ballot or decline your ballot. Those are options for you. And don't forget, for the people that are voting that way, the election is on the 29th. So don't forget.
Yeah, don't
Show
forget.
up on the 29th to vote Liberal.
So I'm in giant support of referendums per se,
Yeah.
but I'm also really against the policy of referendums where not everybody gets a vote. It's a mail-in thing. It's just
there
that.
needs to
It's just like,
be-
yeah, like there needs to be some consistency. Like, fine, if you don't want to vote for federal elections, trust me, this is gonna sound weird coming from me, but I'm not opposed to government enforcement on referendums. If you are a registered person that needs to vote, and we are like, no, we are changing something way bigger than who's going to be PM, who's going to be
Allegedly
your
running the
local-
country.
Yeah, whatever, right? Like, we are talking referendums are not just like, hey, should we not pay, the stickers on your license in Ontario anymore or whatever. We are talking, most referendums are for big things that impact everything. There should be some sort of mandate for everybody that is, and fine, there should be a box of being like,
I think there is quite a
I
few
kneel and
places that
vote.
mandate voting.
Yeah, and we don't.
I
Right,
think that
like
even in
referendum.
Australia, they like require you to vote. Even
Yeah,
though
I mean, I'm kind of
we-
torn on it.
we- We don't, but referendums,
Mm.
right? If you
my
think
thoughts
your
are
vote,
is if you get money from the government or you benefit from the government, you should have to vote.
yeah, I mean that's a whole like
I think
3
if
other
you
episodes
if
of
you
this
You mean
podcast.
if you
you're
get
not
money
allowed
from the
to
government,
vote,
if
yeah.
you get government or benefit from the government, you should not be allowed to vote.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, theoretically though, like we kind of all do in a different way. That's what I'm
No.
saying. So like if
Yeah.
you're an ingrained member of society that pays taxes or gets any kind of, I'm not saying pogey, I'm saying like if you get the child care benefit,
No,
things like
I
that. right?
I disagree.
That's different.
My wife is in a profession where she has people coming to the office that are on multiple programs, both
Yeah.
federal and provincial, and can't afford to go to work because they make way more money by
Yeah.
sucking on the teat
Yeah.
of our government.
Yeah,
So
I would
no,
phrase it that
those
if you
people
are
should not be voting.
a net recipient,
Mm.
right? Like if you get like your tax benefit or whatever because
Yeah,
you've got a
that's a
kid,
little
but
bit
you're
more
still
like- Yeah.
paying more
That's-
in than
that's
you're
different.
getting out, then I think that's fine. But if
I-
you are, yeah,
Yeah,
just getting it.
Yeah, I'm not even opposed to someone like finding a part-time job because where they live
Yeah.
doesn't have a full-time job or they can't do whatever and they pay some taxes and they still get government grants. But I'm talking about the people that sit there and pop out
Oh.
kids like they're fucking
Yeah.
Tic
You're
Tacs
using
because
that
they
as
get
as their job.
you're using
Yeah.
that as whatever,
As
right?
dispenser.
Yeah.
Yeah, a Pez dispenser, right? Like pop it out. Like I got
Sorry,
a big
Liz.
ass one right here. Like
I do not have
that's probably
children.
one.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
probably
not a
one that's
Pez
had a few kids.
dispenser.
Yeah.
Oh,
She's probably had
that's-
like 4 or 5 Pez dispensers before the Pez dispenser and it's coming out now.
But yeah.
But if you are not a contributing member of society, whether you
Well,
want
you
to
should
talk
I
about
like the
equal
223
taxes or
Pez
not.
dispensers. Just saying.
Yeah.
Mm.
But yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to get into that live.
Yeah.
But
we need
if
people to get
if-
out and vote and do the
Yeah.
things,
Just
especially
get out and
those that,
vote.
yeah.
Get out and vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
And remember, if you're voting Liberal, the 29th is the day that you go and do that.
yes,
Make,
29.
make your
you
X
know
on the
what?
government form.
You know what though? And I mean, I can't believe I'm gonna say this, but if we had 90% of the people vote and it was liberal, okay.
yeah.
But
I hate
at
to
least
agree with you,
at
but I
least
agree with
at
you.
least
But at
they
least
voted.
it would be a clear mandate then at that point that like
It's-
the majority
yeah.
of people want this as
Yeah.
opposed to like some bullshit thing. I wouldn't
Toronto.
like it, but
30% of the
Toronto
12%
wanted it.
want it, and the rest
Yeah.
of the 80% who can't get off their duffs to do anything and then bitch and complain about it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
I can
speak-
tell you, I will. It's going to be really hard to stay in Canada and in this province if it keeps on going the way it is, though.
I
Right.
yeah, yeah.
I
Really,
concur.
There's a
hard.
lot to ride on this, and like I'm not gonna give up hope because I can't. Um,
Yeah, not
Yeah,
yet.
I get it now. I was like 6. No, I get it.
yeah, but we gotta keep going and keep pushing and do all the things. And if anyone is in the GTA and they need to ride to go and vote, especially if you're voting conservative, please let me know. If you're voting liberal, I may not drop you off at the right place, but I will pick you up on the 29th regardless.
Yep.
Some interesting things though to look out for. So there was just, and this kind of relates into the your vote doesn't matter, but it does thing. There were 2 by-elections recently that were super fucking close.
Yeah.
So does that mean there's
And
only 2 genders? You said
yes.
bi,
Yeah.
not gender inclusive.
And
Liz is
They went
Liz is
be-
part of the HR thing. She can approve this, right?
yeah,
Oh, listen, I'm like I am the worst HR person ever. Okay.
I got voted HR for something one day, and one person piped up and said that is the worst fucking thing I have ever heard of. And the other
Yeah.
person was just like, "We're gonna get all the snowflakes out." And the other person was just like, "You're gonna get sued like a motherfucker." And I was just like, "As long as I'm safe, I'm down."
yeah,
Like if I'm not
exactly.
like at yeah, just I gotta go get a Philip. Carry on as you were.
Well, yes. So there were 2 by-elections recently that were very, very close. So they actually went to go and get recounted. So the judicial recount were completed just after an election was called. So it really doesn't fucking matter because Parliament has been dissolved. But the interesting thing, so they were originally saying that the margin of under 25 votes. So this is exactly one of those moments where like every vote fucking counts,
Yeah, it does.
especially when now they're saying that the one, and this is one of the ridings right next to me, initially had 20 votes more than the Liberal candidate, and now they have 23 more votes. And then on the other one, the NDP won out over the Conservative by 4 votes the
4.
night of, and after the recount by 9 votes. So
Hmm.
these are instances here where
So-
that does make a big, like we're not talking like 300,
No.
500 votes. This
Were
is
these federal or I
Yeah, these
tried
are-
to find
These
Okay.
are provincial.
Federal.
no, these were
or
federal.
provincial.
federal. Okay, because I noticed in
Oh
in the
no,
last
sorry,
one-
these were provincial ones.
Okay, so
yeah,
then
yeah,
so
that's what I mean. Because
okay,
we
so
just had a provincial
okay.
election.
okay, perfect. They're provincial elections.
Yes.
They use machines.
Well,
Yeah, but
How
they
do you fuck that
use-
up?
Okay, so this is the problem. This is the problem that I have is that I'm at the point that I'm like the optics that they're using say that nothing should go wrong. You know, like you literally do your thing. You walk over to the little old man who's standing there and you watch him feed your result into a machine. And yet for some reason it's still all super messy. It is never like I have no confidence that there isn't like a little gremlin changing the answer inside that machine.
I mean, as long as
me
they're
neither.
not Dominion voting machines where all of a sudden there's a massive spike.
Yeah.
Well,
where
and I
they
mean,
go
you
up,
look at some of
but-
the decisions that Carney is like going on record and saying right now. It's going
Oh.
to clickbait people into the right direction. Like he's
Oh,
talking
absolutely.
Yeah,
like,
100%.
oh, I'm going to get rid of the carbon tax. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And
Yeah,
I was like,
We
he
talked
put it-
about that
Buddy.
last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
but
talked
he's-
about
he's-
that where he just put it to 0, not got rid of it, and it's just
Yeah.
like and
And even when they do redo it, it's not going to be on everything. It's only going to be certain things. And yeah.
yeah, and on all the things, and I was just so like I hate to say it, like the
Tell you what.
liberals.
I'm going to believe in the government
Never.
a titch.
Yeah,
When
that's gonna be your demise.
when the cost of living is only 20% of annual or of monthly take home.
No,
Yeah.
So
Like
I'll-
that's
I'll-
when I will start believing that the government is actually doing something for people is when the actual cost of housing and living and even
It
well,
actually
just
becomes
housing
affordable.
becomes
Yeah.
at like
Yeah, bare
20%
minimum.
or lower.
Yeah,
Yep.
When that
but
happens, then I'll start believing that the government gives a hoot. But
but
until then, nah.
I'll
We're
I'll
looking
also
at
say
like
that.
close to 50% on average is what a person is
Mm,
dumping into their housing.
Yeah.
100%. Right. Like
That's a
Well, no, you
lot.
can, and it's
100% of the
obvious. It's
50%. Like,
it is obvious too. And people say, "Oh, we care about the people." No, you
Yeah,
don't.
no, you don't.
Well,
no.
no, that's not true. That's not a fair statement. They
Hmm.
do care about the people, just in all the other countries.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, and just
It's-
maybe not in the
Right.
right way. Like, if I was going to be super altruistic and super positive and very gracious about
You
this
wouldn't be on
government,
this podcast.
I would, yeah, I've got a duality that fights within often, but um, but I would say that like they're just so removed from reality. Like that's the
Yeah.
nicest I can be,
Yeah.
is that they
uh,
are so removed from reality that they do not even understand. And this is why it's such a tangential thing, but like I am so not interested in what the conservatives are bringing to the table either. They're just a better version of the same bullshit.
Right.
Well, yes, because they
uh,
came up with the ideas originally, and
Clean end of
then
the turd, Liz.
yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
Right.
that's
And
part of the problem sometimes
and
is that
and we're also talking about also want to talk about, sorry, cost of living, right? So like
Yeah.
I work for a fairly big incorporation where I'm like whatever the mandates are, peer reviews, yearly annual increases, or like all of a sudden they tell you a percentage of what you're getting as a raise. And then when you do the math and you realize at the end of the year, um, it's a 2% increase on your wage, but the cost of living has gone up 7% that year. So I'm still at a deficit of negative 5%. I
Right.
make
Yeah.
the same I make the same money, right? But or sorry, I make 2% more, but my groceries went up 5% more of what my income is.
Well,
Yeah.
so they try and do it as a COLA. Okay, so even this year, so that's cost of living adjustment. This year, the Canadian Pension Board or whatever, kind of set the COLA at 2.75%. But if you
Uh,
talk to the average person, they'll tell you that the increase in individual groceries, even though COLA is supposed to include that kind of thing, it's not
does not.
really
No,
reflective because
No.
the
no,
pricing
it's
is so
nowhere near it.
fluctuating and it's on such a climb that nobody
Like,
would be able to manage a COLA. Like no business would ever be able to give a true cost of living adjustment to their staff.
no,
Just
no,
doesn't exist. And
right,
I've warned my employers about this too. I was like, listen, I think that it's really nice that what you're doing is you're giving people a minimum COLA every year. I was like,
yeah,
I think that's
but
very generous of you. And I said, but bear in mind, when the market crashes, you can't bring it back. So then
no,
you're going to have to start laying people off. And I was like,
Yep.
pay attention
I'm
to this kind of thing.
and I'm not saying businesses need to go in the hole to
They can't.
adjust. No, they can't, right?
Yeah.
Like, but the cost of living went up 10%. I'm
Hmm.
giving you 3%. Hey, we're still off by 7%. And I'm not saying
Sure.
businesses need to absorb that cost, but
But
I'm just
Well, no, it
saying
just
you're
feeds
still fucked
inflation
with
more.
it. Yeah.
yeah, you're still fucked,
Yeah.
right? Either way,
Yeah.
because as a business, like if nobody can work in the cost of living, depending how far you live from work, like I'm very beneficial for where I work. I make very good money for what I do for a living without certain criterias that some people may say I need. I have a company truck. They pay for the gas. I'm like, if I wanted to go anywhere else for the same amount of money, I'm like, I've already done the math. I was like, I would need to make $10,000 more per
Yeah.
year just
Just
to
to make up
pay,
for it. Yeah.
just like not
I
even
mean-
for the vehicle I already pay for, but I want to talk about like a 1999 Honda Civic that I just want to legalize for 2 years. Cost of gas,
Yeah.
oil changes, wear and tear, and like even
But
one-way
you know
insurance.
what?
I would need to make 10,000 more to make the exact same I can spend on groceries than I do now. per
I
year.
have like a very unpopular perspective on this, and I don't even live by it.
I
But
want to hear it now so bad.
I was gonna say, but I have a very unpopular perspective on this, is that first of all, yes, the cost of living has increased significantly. And like income and stuff like that is not meeting that threshold, but that cost of living has adjusted drastically by the same, like if we're using the same statistics that people have used historically to say like, oh, hey, in the 70s when people lived or had one income and bought their homes and did the thing and all that stuff. When we look at lifestyle and life choices, it's vastly different. Okay. So the average person is paying $200 to $300 just for cell phones in their house a month.
Yeah, which is
Okay.
something that didn't
So
exist back then.
exactly. And you know
Yeah.
what? Like I know people that a lot of like
Yeah.
I'm blessed with the capacity that I have to spend money, but like I also know people like that single income families that still like homeschooled their kids that lived under the poverty level that grew all their own groceries in this era. Okay, it's tough, but people aren't willing to adjust their lifestyles
Well,
either. And the
Liz,
Well, it's okay.
problem,
We'll just cancel our Disney Plus accounts
right?
and
Yep.
that'll save us
The
all.
Well,
problem,
you know what?
the problem with that adjustment
There
is that
is.
it's
Right.
required
Yeah.
if
But
you want to see
you
the
laugh when you say
economy
that.
change.
When we first got married, Tammy and I got involved in something, and part of that was
Like in
people's
1901.
part of
Yeah,
that was it
1901.
was yes, 1901. But it was like, well, I can't afford
Love you,
I,
Timmy.
I can't afford I can't afford $10 a week to do this.
Yeah.
As I'm watching them go through 3 packs a day,
Yeah.
or or eat at McDonald's every night, or
Yeah.
eat out, or like there are ways and means that
Right.
we can. And I
Yeah.
agree with you. Like it's
Yeah.
not an unpopular opinion. It's a practical opinion.
Right.
It's
I guess maybe
yeah.
it's
It's a cost
unpopular in that
assessment.
people don't want to do
Yeah.
it.
they don't
Yes.
want to
wanna
do it
do it.
because
But-
it's easier for me to
Yeah.
do this, and you need to fix it for me. And
Right.
that's a gigantic societal problem.
Although
It is,
sadly
but I
though,
mean,
like
average
some of that
person-
stuff though, like at times it is cheaper to go and eat shitty fast food than it is to buy fucking groceries these days.
Yeah.
But then
Well-
that like, okay, financially you're slightly better off right now, but then you have a host of other things that hit you later in life when like
your health is in the bucket.
declining
But-
and now you need to spend all
Well,
this
and I
money
think-
on
I think that there's also this balance too, because like even in town, everybody used to have gardens. Everybody used to have like
well, yeah, and
things
now
that would
people are getting
contribute to that.
tickets for having a fucking garden on their front
Right,
lawn or
but-
something because the
Right.
local,
HOAs all
vocabularies,
accept them,
yeah.
But
Yeah.
but we're getting into a whole other rabbit hole at this point of
Isn't that what we do?
Yes,
Yes.
it's
yeah.
absolutely what
So
we do, but
let's
yeah.
bring it back to the bare minimum of this rabbit hole
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
$200 for cell phones, right?
One cell phone.
Yeah.
One cell phone,
sometimes,
fine.
right?
Shop
Fine, but,
around.
uh,
I'm like
so
at
that's not-
$45 a month.
so that's not even a shop around, right? So that is fine. As Liz was saying, I need the newest iPhone.
Oh yeah.
Oh
But
yeah.
I gotta pay $150 a month to be on my bill and everything, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
okay,
This-
fine. Let's take
This
that
is
into
like a
consideration.
$1,300 phone. Isn't that the
Right,
dumbest
so-
shit ever?
So
Yeah.
this is a $1,300 phone.
Yeah.
I paid outright and I put any SIM card I want in it and it works. But if I wanted to buy so this is a Red Magic. So it's a gaming phone. I play a
Wow.
game online, but I'm like, this is a gaming phone technically. But I'm like, if I wanted to buy the new iPhone, the new Samsungs or whatever, I would have paid 3 times what this phone cost outright.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
just
it's criminal, but I mean it's
how
one of those
how much is an S25?
That's
Yeah.
just that's society.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Buy now and
Let's-
pay later.
fine.
There's an old Canadian
Oh,
comedy song about that called "Buy Now and Pay
Yeah,
Later."
but
There-
let's put
you
that
can get
aside.
micro loans on fucking ordering a pizza now.
Yeah,
I know.
So
I know. It's
yeah,
insane.
we saw that.
you
Right.
can finance your takeout.
Ugh.
Ah,
But
somebody's
let's put-
thinking.
Let's put that aside of saying like I don't have a house phone. So fine. Most times back
Are
in
you
the
trying
day,
to justify your cell phone, Pierre?
no.
Okay.
I'm getting to a point. Give me
Okay.
2 minutes. Right? So
Cool.
fine. We justify a cell phone, right?
Yeah.
I don't have a home phone. Right.
Right.
What does a home phone cost now? Almost impossible to get one.
It is.
Right? But
Yeah.
let's also take a cost analysis of what
$45 a month.
Right.
I
Let's
just
take a-
canceled mine.
Like, so let's also take what my income was 20 years ago when you can live off someone selling shoes as a one income house. Yes, we're gonna say we've got phones, we've got
sure.
technology and this
But-
and that. But let's take a cost analysis of how much a home phone line cost back then compared to what a cell phone would be. I do have a feeling it would not be a giant difference of a cost analysis due to
Oh
the
no,
cost
I
of
think it would
inflation.
be because we kind of forget that like now in a home, if you're a family of five, you have five phones, right? You maybe have a single plan, but that's a $500 phone bill and internet bill every
Yeah.
month, whereas that
Yeah.
wasn't the
Oh,
case. Everybody
yeah.
shared, right? And you just
Yeah.
hoped and prayed that your phone cord was long enough so that you could go into the next room and have a
Get
private
some
phone
privacy, yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like you just kind of
Don't-
hoped for that.
But then you've
Right,
got
but-
like we also used to get TV over the airwaves and it didn't
Right,
cost
and-
us anything. But
You
now
still
we've
can.
got to
used to
have
use like
yeah,
the bunny
very few
ears in the
channels, but
back,
yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, where you got
You
your
know?
fucking
But-
little brother
yeah,
to
so,
hold
I mean,
the
there's
antenna
all
so
these
you can watch your Spider-Man stuff. Yeah, I
things
get it.
remember-
now that like
You
we
remember when
don't
you had
need,
a
but-
home phone? There was a 5-digit number you could punch in, then you hang up, and then it rang back in.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
used to do that all the
Yeah.
time. Drive my sister nuts. It's awesome.
Call collect.
Yeah. Because
everything.
why?
It's
Because your
so
sister
good.
was waiting for someone
Hello,
to call.
hello.
Yeah,
Right,
there's
but, like-
all
it was
kinds of
insane.
crazy things.
Fun
But-
with the Xers.
Either way, like so my grandma, she has a landline. So I pay for both her stuff and my stuff. And I can tell you it costs a lot more money now to get her cable, her landline, all that stuff now.
100%.
Like is more
compared,
expensive than my bill. But
Yeah,
like
like, with all the
it's
streaming
just-
services, like you can go black market streaming services, which we'll talk about offline,
But
not online.
I
But like, I'm about to cancel
Yeah.
everything.
But I guess
And
where
just-
I was going with that statement though is that like you kind of have to people forget that
Yeah,
if you
there-
don't adjust your lifestyle, then you're just going to contribute to inflation because
Oh,
all
absolutely.
it's doing is requiring that cost of living adjustment to occur,
Yeah.
which then creates like a false inflation, right?
Yeah.
Because then all of
But-
the prices get hiked in all the businesses that have to now afford to pay this extra money because
Yeah.
again, our standard of living has increased. But is that an actual quality of living or is that just a perceived
Well, yeah, and
standard
that's
based on our like, you know,
Yeah.
opulence,
I mean, that's-
Uneducated.
for
yeah.
lack of a better word, right?
but yeah, like
Or-
with
or-
all of that, like
Or primal minds.
Yeah.
everything, like, you know, before when running a business, there was no such thing as cell phones, so none of my sales guys had cell phones, so no big deal. But now it's kind of an essential tool for doing the job, especially for a sales guy that is on the road all the time. And now I
Yeah.
need to be able to get in touch with them and they need to be able to get in touch with me. And it's a necessary evil. So my business expenses have gone up. So there's some
Yeah.
of these things that, yeah, like when they looked at that, you know, 50 years ago, we didn't have some of that shit. So like it
Yeah.
was easier to get by with less because we didn't have these frivolous things that sometimes aren't so frivolous because you kind of need them for work.
Yep. Yeah.
Because like who
Yeah.
could go and do, like, depending on what your job is, like you could maybe get away with not having a cell phone, but a lot of people
Yeah.
can't.
I'll
We
tell
maybe
you
don't
that I
need the
do, like-
crazy one that does all of the fucking things. Like we could get by with like
Right.
a shitty flip phone from the 90s that literally just accepts
100%.
phone calls, but
Or-
nobody makes that anymore, right?
Or
Like,
figured how to use the T9 texting.
yeah,
I mean,
Find me
that's a
s-
skill.
find-
I
find
should
me
be able to
someone
put that
under
on my
30.
resume.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
100%.
I know how to
Find me
do that.
someone under
Well,
find me someone under 30 that
Dee-dee-dee-dee.
knows how to
Face.
T9 text.
Dee-dee-dee-dee.
yeah,
I
that,
had
like
I had a Motorola StarTAC.
nice.
I dropped
Oh.
I dropped it in a ditch. 6 inches of water. It would open it up, put it on the dashboard of the van, turn the defroster on, and 20 minutes later it came back on.
Love it.
I
Did
I'm
you
had
doing that
know
now.
that when you ask kids to do the like motion for picking up a phone, it's
Yeah.
this, not this.
Yeah.
Isn't
And
that
if you
wild?
show them a rotary phone, they'd have no fucking
Yeah.
clue what's going
It's
on.
this. And I was like,
Try writing them a note.
Yeah.
yeah, I
Can't
still write in
script.
cursive.
Yeah.
Wow.
but also like I had the old flip phone where I had to open my phone, plug the charger in, and put a book on top for it to charge.
What?
Yeah, I had to
Oh.
open my flip phone and put it face down, plug the charger in, and put a book on top
I
for the
miss my
charger.
Blackberries.
For the charger to hit the right like
Yeah.
prong for
The
it to
angle
charge.
of the dangle.
Yeah,
It
Had to be
needed, it needed a
just so.
little extra.
Yeah, it
Oomph
just
to
needed
us,
the
yeah.
thing.
Sorry, Liz.
Or when I went to bed, I did the thing, right? I opened my phone, I put it on the desk, I put a book on top of it. Not a big book, but just enough to put a little bit of pressure. And that's how my phone would charge for a year and a half.
Probably opened the book
Yeah.
in the middle, didn't you?
Nope, just slap the fucking book on it. But we've gotten so far away, right? We're at the point
Liz.
where everything is getting like, oh, I need this, I need that. And I'm just like, if your
Yeah.
phone still works, why do you need it? Why do you
Well,
need
because
the
this is also another problem though.
Keeping
And
up
they
with the
actually
Joneses.
recently, well, no, but they also recently, like there was legislation that came out against Apple because what they were doing was
Yes.
actually causing the batteries to
Yeah,
like
downgrade
die
prematurely
within
and
within a year or two. And the problem is that they weren't, it's a big consumer thing. We know this. It's a good marketing strategy,
Yeah.
but or consumer strategy, but then the battery was like so expensive that it wasn't,
It's called
it was a
planned
perceived
obsolescence.
value.
yes.
But it was like
but there was
And for
perceived
also
those of you
value
that
to
don't know
just
what that
upgrade.
is, go and watch the Brave Little Toaster, and it will tell you all about it.
but there was
Yeah.
also the thing of they knew what generation your phone was that when
Well,
they
but-
asked for updates.
Well, it's not even a
They-
phone. It's computers. It's TVs.
They,
It's
they were
everything.
the
Yeah,
problem
it
is
is
they were
everything.
prematurely downgrading your battery. Like, so it wasn't
Yeah.
that it
But
just like it ran
it
down
wasn't
that
just the-
quickly all on its own and it was a piece of shit battery. It's just that
They designed it that way.
but
the
they designed it that
the
way.
software in the phone was prematurely downgrading it to the point where like it's telling you that you only have like 70% of its original capacity, but realistically you still have way more than that, and then it would keep slowly over time reducing it to the point where
But-
it's no good, and then you have to either buy a new battery, which is like
Buy a
much like a
phone.
Tesla, most of the cost of one. Although it seems that those are not so popular anymore.
Apparently, they're
But
having
yeah,
fire sales
but-
on Teslas now.
Yeah.
But there was also a point where they would actually when they send those, we've all had those things where like do an upgrade, doing an update, do this, do that, right? There was a thing where it would register the type of phone you have, and it would pre-upload software to slow your phone down to
Yep.
force you to update it because they're
Hate
like,
that.
oh, your phone is too
Yeah.
old where you need a new
you
one.
can't do this. Yeah.
So they also got, I don't think it was just Apple, but I'm pretty sure it was
Yeah.
Apple that did. The big one that got dinged at least was Apple, but I think Samsung, like
Oh, they
all those
were
other
all
companies,
doing
yeah, I
it.
think everybody
They
was
were
doing
all-
it, right? Like, hey, you've got
Yeah.
a phone that's 4 years old, so on this update, we're gonna start
Yeah.
slowing your phone down where this doesn't work right, this doesn't work right. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, it's time to upgrade, even though technically the phone still does everything you need.
But
But
it's just really slow.
they just decided that they were like, hey, you
Yeah.
need to buy new.
Well,
And
Question.
yeah.
Can we go back to talking about some of this politics thing? Because I just
well,
have
I
a
was just gonna
question.
say, yeah, if you want to talk about things that are also slow and don't work so well, we can talk about the NDP.
Well, so this is
But yes,
this
let's
is
answer
my
your
thing.
question.
I guess I'm just, as somebody who brought up, voting conservative, I
Yes.
understand why you're saying that.
Um,
One of the
but I will
articles here.
clarify in case there are any questions, and maybe that for
Mhm.
this particular election, and
Yeah.
I hate doing this because I think it's stupid.
Right.
But for this election, I am a single issue voter. That's it.
Right.
My
100%.
issue is my ability to use the private property that I already have and have it not be taken away from me. And for those that don't know what I'm talking about guns.
Yep.
And
Anything
the
else at this point in
conservatives-
time, I really do not give a shit.
No,
And I
like, my
hate doing
tax-
that because that's stupid and it's the worst way to vote because you should take a look at everyone's platform and pick the one that best suits you. But to me, this is one of those core issues that
Well, I
like-
think it represents a degeneration in society And like
Yes.
once you disarm the people, then everything else kind of just
Yes.
like
Well,
falls
it's not
apart.
working. That's the whole
Yeah.
point. I mean,
We can figure out the
at
other
that,
shit later.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, we can figure it all out. So
Yeah. So I guess my question is that, like we've got a couple of articles in here, but so we see Pierre Poilievre talking an interesting talk, and you can see as election is coming up. Like,
Mhm.
I'm gonna be honest, Jagmeet Singh, I pretty much just ignore the guy. Like this morning, I watched a video of him do a "Get Ready with Me" while he did his hair turban,
Yeah.
and talk about like what
That
he was
doesn't
doing
relate
when he
to
was
you in your
20.
life. Yeah.
Yeah, what he was doing when he was 20 versus what Poilievre was
Yeah.
doing when he was
Way
20.
to connect with the people there, bud.
And I'm like, am I even allowed to see your long, luscious hair? Like, is that even allowed? But anyways,
I keep mine tucked behind my microphones.
did it.
Yeah.
We all saw his hair.
me too.
TikTok
Yeah.
should burn in hell.
The what you have left.
But I guess my thing is like, do we even have confidence that Poilievre is gonna kind of turn out to be the kind of guy that he has portrayed himself to be?
So
I mean,
I'm willing
Jagmeet Singh is kind of like whatever. He doesn't even hit my radar. The guy is so waffly that
Well, I would say that like the other options have so far, I think,
fucked you.
proven to be the people that they are, and that's
Yeah.
shitty people. Like Jagmeet has definitely like this whole like trying to talk shit about Trudeau, but the whole time propping him up and then complaining.
that guy
And
honestly
then
is
finally
like a wild game of Stockholm syndrome.
well, and
Like,
finally saying that, oh yeah, we'll support this whole thing about getting a new election and supporting the vote of no confidence after he gets his paycheck for life. But it's like,
Yeah.
bro, you are just as fucking guilty as all of those because you propped up all this shit. You could have stopped this,
yeah.
but you didn't. So you're just as bad, and you have proven that
Yep.
you're a piece of shit.
Yep.
Trudeau is definitely a piece of shit. Thankfully,
Yep.
he's gone, but all
We
the
kinda already
people
knew
that have
that.
propped him up
Are
are still there. And if you look at
still there
Carney,
and doing the same.
and you look at like the worst people in Trudeau's cabinet or that are associated with him or the Liberal Party in general, these are all of the people that Carney is putting into his cabinet or holding close as his advisors. Like, it is like a who's who of dirtbags. Like,
Yeah.
This is just going back to, as Gavin has said, and I will stand by, I am a one decision vote on this. Pierre Poilievre, or as many will call it, say PP, has said
Canada needs a big PP right now.
Yeah, they need some swing walking down, even if it's winter, right? Like, or they just got out of the pool. But he has said many things, right? He wants to cut taxes. Fine. Many politicians have said it. Most of them have screwed us. He wants to reinvent, rebring manufacturing and everything to Canada, or do the best he can to bring as much as we can back. He wants to rewrite the Firearms Act for it to make sense. He wants to bring back home, or do his best to bring back, the nuclear family, which is the whole demise of this country. And many things where I'm just like, hey, we've bet on many things of politicians. Where I'm like, hey, I am 100% willing to vote this person in for 4 years, put all my marbles in one basket, because this guy has at least stood up to many things. Fine, yes, he was minority on the government. He can say whatever he wants because technically can't do anything with the liberal vote or all the other parties, right? So
calling me jaded, but anybody will say anything to get elected.
Yeah,
100%. Right?
Proof is in the pudding.
But the only way
disagree.
to find out is to
Fine.
I will change the first past the post system this time because it doesn't work. I really promise this time.
Yeah.
And look where we are. So
yeah, exactly.
I mean,
so
at least he hasn't proven that he's a liar. That's
not yet.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where we're at. Fine.
Yeah.
He's never had a position where he can change anything because no support, no this, no that. Where I'm just like, hey, what he's talking about, I'm willing to stand behind.
Most people are of the opinion, I believe, that's better the devil you know than the devil you don't. And that's going to be the biggest issue to overcome
I
this whole
I
thing.
have solutions for those thanks to my new bench being cleaned.
But yeah, I mean, all of this is a crapshoot. There is no
Yeah.
guarantees in anything, but
None.
looking at my options ahead of me is I don't vote. That doesn't
an-
get me where I want to be.
Not an option.
No.
I spoil my ballot or decline to vote. That's effectively the same thing.
In my
Again,
opinion,
doesn't get
yes.
me any
Agreed.
closer to where I want to be.
No.
Agreed.
Voting NDP, not going to help me because they're not for any of this either.
No.
Voting
I mean,
Liberal is certainly not going to help me because Carney has come right out and said that he is not going to undo anything. Bernier
He's the closest to what I probably align with.
is where I would love to actually vote.
Mhm.
Yes.
But the problem is that I think he is a little bit too conservative, and I don't even think he's
No.
all that conservative, but I think he is too conservative for the
The
center.
majority. Yeah.
And-
He's too
Well,
conservative for
He's the
people
problem.
to follow.
He's the
Yeah.
problem.
But that's
No.
You
Not
know,
the
it's
problem
actually,
we have, but the problem.
it's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
interesting.
different
I actually-
problem. Chris,
Because
you did.
he splits the conservative vote.
That's
but
the problem.
but this is where everybody thinks though, is that they think that it's the same. They think, oh, okay, well, he's splitting the conservative. No, people that are following Bernier are not the same people that are following Polyev. The only reason people are going with Polyev to a degree is a comfort zone, right? If you've been a conservative long enough, you just kind of go with that party.
yes.
It's very much a boomer mindset, but a lot of people do it. And I mean, whatever,
And-
that's how liberals also get their vote, is
Yeah.
nominally identifying. But the other side too is that, again, it's very comfortable and people are under this illusion that change can't be made and that it's just a
It-
two-party system. And I do agree that we kind of live
That's
in a
the
world
problem, though,
where
is
you have
because
to, I know you have to choose that. But I am really excited to see that, like, you see Bernier, he's almost made the same population or the same kind of movements as the Green Party. Like he's hitting
Yeah.
the same numbers as the Green Party, which I mean, that doesn't seem like much, but considering it's
But
a
the-
party that's only like 5 or 6 years old, it's like
Yeah,
good.
Yes, and they're
I mean,
able
he's
to
the
get a seat
closest to being
here
a
and get a seat there. But
libertarian.
I voted
Yes.
Bernier last federal election and potentially lost good conservative votes.
well, so but if
but
you look
I
at
also
the
wore
things
my
they,
fuck Trudeau shirt to the
Yeah.
election,
They-
and there was a lot of people upset
Well,
about
and I
it.
mean, it can't change overnight. This is what
No,
people
and-
forget
but
is that
and-
like you have to make there's certain decisions and certain time frames where you have to make like, okay, no, we have to make this emergent decision now. And I do think that this election does kind of call for that.
and,
But I
and that's
will
the
say-
problem, right? It's like
Yeah.
like the left always votes strategically because if you vote liberal or you vote NDP or you vote green, their
Yeah.
parties and their platforms are all very similar to
They at
varying
least
degrees.
intertwine at some
And
point.
it's like,
where
okay,
it will benefit
so
you.
we don't get 100% of the free stuff with the liberals versus the NDP, but we get 80% of the free stuff. So that's that step in that right direction that the
That's
next
better
time
than
we can
50.
do that. So they are willing to concede on a few things and maybe not get everything, but they get a lot of the same things that they're looking for. But that's the problem that we're in, is that like they have nothing to really lose on that because they're voting to keep the one party out.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Whereas like we can't we have to vote to get that one party in.
Yeah.
Because we're stuck, because yes, there's a lot of people and it sucks. I wish we had a representative democracy because then you could vote, because then they would have to work together
right. And
based on all of that. But with our shitty first past the post and all that, it's
And-
like
Well, it really, I think, removes the opportunity for folks to vote truly how they feel.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
folks just tend to kind of feel obligated to vote like blue or red because those are the only real options. But
Right.
I had the opportunity
to
to
that-
meet Bernier the other weekend. He was in our
Yeah.
area, and it's interesting because he talks about how it's like it's a slow revolution pretty much. And it's like that's what people have to remember,
well, and I think if the
half the
conservatives
people that-
didn't fuck him over
yeah.
however many years ago now, he would still be in that thing and he would have been able to shift the platform of the party
I think so.
more his way. And like, if you look at what PP's doing, it's a sort of similar direction, but he's behind by a
Right.
couple of years.
And
But-
still very much, I think,
But
swayed by public opinion.
they
Well,
all
I
are,
was
but
just-
to a lesser extent, Bernier. But he also has.
Well, I was going to say though, you look at the stories, the articles that we've been looking at tonight. Carney, PP, one on Singh. Who else is the
Yeah.
guy we're talking about?
Yeah. So this is the giant
Yeah,
problem we have.
public opinion
Yeah.
is the thing, and you know the bought and paid for that
Mhm.
we have
Yeah.
telling
It-
everyone what to think because people don't want to get engaged or want to stick their head in
Yeah.
the sand and say,
But-
"Oh, I can't do this."
But
And I
like
think-
when you're the party that is like, it's easy for fucking Jagmeet to say whatever. It's easy for Bernier to say whatever. It's easy for the Green Party to say whatever because they really don't have a whole lot to lose.
Yeah.
They can make outlandish claims and promises about fucking anything and everything in order to try to get votes. But the reality is that they're never going to have to perform on that anytime soon.
Yeah.
So they can do that.
Because they're not going to get a majority where they
and-
can do anything.
The
Right.
other
So
side
all
of
those
that,
parties.
sorry, the other side of that too is just that like this is something I tell a lot of folks is I'm like, you have to set your expectations to be realistic. Like you
Yeah.
come into an election and you're writing all of these election promises. Like you got to stop. And if you want to know who to vote for, go to their websites, find out what they state publicly on this, this, and this, and then go back historically and find out
Yeah.
what their actual success rate is. And
Right.
if you have like, which
Oh,
I
but
could
that's so much
probably say,
work, Liz. Can you just tell me who we should vote for?
well, and I do get it because I have a lot of friends that are, I'm so proud of a couple of my friends. Like my one buddy, he said to me, he's like, we need to sit down and talk politics because he's like, I'm raising kids in this world and I don't understand it enough. And he's like, and I want to know, he's like, I want to know how to vote, who to vote for. Like, I want to know these things. And I was very proud of him for that because I'm like, that's kind of the important part is not necessarily like that you get it right every time because sometimes it is really a throw of the
Yeah.
dice, but it's about just every time getting a little bit closer to understanding,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Just
But
be
that's
engaged.
but that's really I
Yeah.
really wish we didn't have this first past the post and we had something a little bit closer to like representative democracy because
Yeah.
then I could vote for the party that I actually want
Sure.
to win as opposed to having to vote strategically.
Yeah.
And like part of that is a reaction to the other side voting strategically and not voting for who they want to win. They're voting against the other party, not
Yeah.
for the one. And as a result of that, we have to adjust our tactics to
Yep.
combat that. Because if we don't, then we won't
Well,
win. Air
and-
quotes for those in the listening audience only, and it sucks.
Well,
Great,
and I
and
think it's like a pretty wild, like, psyop, for lack of a better
Yeah.
word, because the majority of voters are very uneducated in terms of the whole chess game and the
Yeah.
whole process that is
Well,
the
they-
voting and electoral system.
And they don't realize
So-
that they're fucking playing into that bullshit.
Well,
and that
so
it's
then
just so
they're the ones that are like,
Yeah.
oh, an election just got called. What is Carney saying about this? What is Polyev saying about this? And it's things that are said in the last 30 days that I'm like, it's no different than this stupid
yeah.
tariff war. I don't know
Yeah,
how many times I've had to say to people, I'm like, listen, I appreciate that you're more interested in purchasing Canadian now. I was like, but I've said this, I was like, but where were you when all of these small businesses were going out of business
Yeah.
during COVID? Are you
Yeah,
planning on continuing this campaign after the USMCA gets sorted? Like,
Yeah.
what's the
Well,
plan?
That's a function of people thinking what they're told to think.
Yeah, but that's what I mean, right? That's the same thing
Yeah.
that's occurring
Like
during
it's
the
it's
election,
it's just
election system.
narrow-minded sheep thinking.
And,
Yeah.
and the only way to solve this at the end of the day, in my opinion,
Take their
is-
vote away.
I mean,
Violence.
we can, you're not wrong, but what I'm
Violently
specifically
take their
saying,
vote away.
yeah, what I'm saying is not wrong. Like, I'm not completely disagreeing, but I'm just saying people
Not
that want to
violence.
be politicians, like
Yeah.
I live in the fairly small township where I'm
Yes,
just
you
like,
do.
instead of someone saying, "Hey, I'm running for this fucking party," let's change that and make the people vote for who they want to represent them.
Okay.
So there's you still go vote, but the people vote for who they want, whether that person wants to be there or not. I never want to be a politician, but if the people in the township I live in think that I would be the best person to represent them for what they view as
You gotta
value,
want to though.
right? No, let me finish. Right? I think this should be the same for Olympics, right? Like you get voted, you got 4 years to train. You're doing the 100-meter dash in 4 years. That's how Olympics should go. But that should not be different from politicians. Hey, I speak to some of my neighbors. I mean, very little of them. But if word gets around that I'm a person that people I live around, I have the same values as them, the constituents should be able to vote me. As an example, please do not vote me because this shit's going to get real bad. The people should be able to vote who their representative is. And that representative.
But that's currently
Yeah,
kind of what people think that they're voting for anyway,
Yeah.
yeah,
right?
but
I don't think that
But then
that's
the
any
party whip
different.
comes in and tells them, don't worry about your constituents.
and
Right.
that's the problem.
Because you have to, but what you're
Yeah.
saying, or what, okay, correct me if I'm wrong here. Are you saying that like pretty much eliminate a party system and it's all just independents?
That would solve part
No,
of the problem as well, right there, though.
that will solve part of the problem. I'm not opposed to. Fine, if I get voted in, I'm going for this party, right? I'm not going to go liberal. I'm going to go
Mhm.
NDP. I'm going to whatever. But it doesn't matter. I'm not talking about like, hey, I'm conservative, so you should vote for me because we're a blue
The trouble,
area.
I mean, there's nothing stopping
Right.
you doing that because down near Fort Erie, there is a two-time
Right.
incumbent independent MP.
Yeah.
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 I mean,
but
they do exist.
I'm not going
but-
to knock on fucking doors. I'm not going to talk to
No, but
people
that's a
about, hey,
very
you should listen on Monday
antiquated-
nights about my political views.
Yeah.
but
Because I will not get
that's the
voted
way
in.
that works, though, is someone's got to be.
But
You've
that's
got
the
to be able
problem.
to do that.
And
This is the
I'm-
problem with politics, though, is that like the people that go into politics want to be into politics.
And that's where I'm saying we need to separate the person of wanting to be in politics of the person that just has views.
Well, and
So,
you know, part
go
of
ahead.
that structure is that like if you don't want to go and, you know, canvas, because realistically, very few people actually do want to canvas.
yeah, but I'm
but
not saying
like-
you should get into this position by canvassing. I'm just saying if you know enough people, if you
I know
like
what you're
who's
saying. I know
chatting,
what you're
But who
saying.
does?
But
Nobody
what I'm
does. That's the
saying is
problem.
that like our system right now, we have such we're and like I mean, if you were to put our system up against a grade scale in terms of international politics, we're not the most corrupt by any means. We're certainly,
but
you know,
we're
a
the
little bit
biggest
more
fucking
accessible.
joke.
Yeah, and I
100%.
mean
Like-
that's,
Yeah, but I mean,
that's a
you
whole
look at-
other problem. That's a whole other
Yeah,
problem
but, like,
outside of corruption.
Look at
Like-
in
But,
a
like-
perfect world, like we wouldn't need fucking lawn signs.
No, but
there
that's
are-
what I'm saying
but
is
yeah,
that there's
I know,
not
that's-
freedom of debate either, though, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you look at when people can actually get to hear debate topics, and certain candidates aren't even invited. I remember, like, when we
Yeah.
had our local. This obviously would have been 4 years ago, longer. I don't know. Time is a bit of a black hole, but
Probably
when there
9.
was, yeah, I'm not sure. And I can't even remember if it was provincial or federal, but like there was multiple candidates that were not invited to speak at like municipal supported debates, and they weren't invited to speak. Meanwhile, they would have been on the ballot. And I was like, we have little detail issues like that, you know, like that's
Yeah,
problematic.
But you've got to pay to
and-
play. Our system is you have to pay to play, and that's the problem.
Well,
Right,
and
and
the
the
part
other
that
problem
sucks about
is-
that is that those municipalities that we're hosting, or those societies or groups that we're hosting, are all publicly funded. So I'm like,
Yeah.
we are already
So-
paying to play.
Yeah, my
There is
taxes paid
no-
for that.
but there is no system of accountability. Because let me tell you, if there was a system of accountability, just get a bunch of soccer moms with minivans, and let me tell you, shit would get done,
Fucking those Karens will fuck you up with their fucking mop
right?
head
They
bull
would just be
fucking
like, no,
haircuts.
get your ass moving.
Yeah, no.
No?
So
Yeah.
right, so I mean, so that's a whole other debate about where tax money goes for, right? Whether I
Yeah.
decide to support gay pride
Well, but I
parades,
mean-
my taxes should not go for it. Fine, your
Or just go to
Referendums.
Romania.
You're-
That's
Back
now
to
no, but-
outlawed.
referendums.
but your tax money doesn't want to support Easter parade or a Santa parade. Fine.
Yeah.
Go knock door to door and say we want to do butt pirate parade. Do you want to donate? Or hey, I want a Santa parade. Do you want to donate? And if you don't raise enough, you don't get to do it at a conversation, right? But that's also the part where I'm getting at, where if your constituents, right, there's too many people that vote for party and not of what the person representing where I live does. There's also a giant debate about whether if my person representing my district is willing to be like, does not matter what the party views of are, whether
But
he
that's-
believes. Right,
Yeah,
like,
but I mean, you're
No.
you're talking in Pollyanna though, Pierre, because I mean, you could like your neighbor, you could be the guy that wants to do that, but you're a communist, and everybody you live in the area is a communist, and therefore
The-
they're going to be in government. And guess what?
Yeah,
It just, I mean,
The problem is
I
the
understand
party
what you're,
system.
I understand what you're doing. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. The independents are the way to do it, but it's got to be.
it's
I
not even the
understand where you-
independents.
I understand
But,
where you're coming from, but like Gavin said, it's the party system we have, and that's the party system.
And that's what I'm trying to say is the problem. It doesn't matter whether you vote liberal, liberal, conservative,
Yeah.
NDP, Bloc Québécois, Green Party, or
Yeah.
the other
Like
one. It doesn't matter. If you are voted in my area, what is the majority of my area saying? Whether that aligns with party lines of who you represent, whether that's conservative, liberal, NDP, Bloc Québécois, whatever the fuck Max
Yeah,
was, whatever.
but-
What's that one? That purple one there.
Maxime
Party.
Bernier.
Yeah.
Yeah,
CPC.
Max. Yeah,
He's
CPC.
CPP.
Right.
But that's
Right,
that's
so
the problem,
does-
though,
does-
is that that's how it should work, regardless
That's
of
how it
party.
should.
The MP
And we need
is
to
supposed
figure out how to get
represent
there.
Well,
the
here the
constituents.
problem.
You have
just
to
through a
remove the
comment.
parties.
The problem, just through a comment, is you do, and I agree. You don't even have to live where you run.
Yeah.
How on earth can you know what the local priorities are?
So-
So it comes
but
down to the
you-
system again and changing rules.
No.
Well, and unfortunately, the system isn't set up though.
No,
for
so
this.
I'm not opposed to someone living in BC winning where I ride or where I live.
But how are they
That-
going to
that
know
con-
what
that
you want?
contradicts what you
I'm
just
not
said.
I'm not fucking done, assholes. Right? I'm not opposed to him not living here, but he cannot do anything without consulting most of his constituents of where he represents. Those
That's
are
what
two
you're
different things.
supposed to do now.
But that's where
they
But
don't.
if those are,
referendums-
but him living here and him considering what I say because I live
Yeah.
here are two different things. Him living here can still go 100% against anything I think is good for this place
Yes.
compared to 90% of people
But that's
that
where
live in this
referendums
place.
come in. That's
Right,
Yeah.
but you also need to take referendums into account of actual accountability. You send referendums out, whether I fill it out or not is up to me or
well,
not.
so
But-
no. So here's the thing: is that there's countries out there. I'm sorry, I'm crushing
Not
your.
fucking
your-
Canada. That's the
I know.
problem.
But, but
Like,
that's
but
hey,
that's
Pierre. I think we're all
that's the
saying the
problem.
same thing, just differently.
But
So,
that's the problem. I don't
it
care what
is the
other
problem.
countries do.
Right, but you're also saying that you want it to be a certain way that our country is not. So we're
Yes.
all saying the same thing. We all want
Yeah.
a different style of government because it's
Yes.
clearly
Yes.
not working.
Because that's the party system. And
Yes.
like it should be
The
that the
party
person
system.
that you elect, whether they live there or not, however, I think if they live in the area, or at
I
least
agree
from
they
it,
should.
is better. But regardless, they should be taking the constituents' thoughts,
Yes.
feelings, and everything about it. And
But it's towing
Even
the
if they
party
don't-
line.
but even if they don't necessarily go to like a full-on referendum, but do it locally to say, what do you guys feel about it? And then I will vote that way.
Yeah. Whether
when it
you're
comes to
liberal,
it-
conservative, this, that,
But they
whether
don't.
it goes
They all
against what you don't.
follow the party line, And
Yeah.
you kind of have to,
And
because
that's the
otherwise
problem.
you get booted out of the party and become an independent.
Yeah.
And not that independents don't necessarily do successful, because there are some places where they do.
Yeah.
But by and
Yeah.
large,
But-
you
Well,
can't
it's
be
because,
all
like,
that successful as a politician unless you and your politician friends.
You can't
well,
make shit happen. What
well,
good are you?
no, well, so part of the issue is that you have to have a certain amount of seats to allow you a certain amount of questions within Parliament and a
But that's a
bunch of like
whole
behaviors and actions,
problem
right?
with the party
So-
That's the
system, and
problem.
then who
Exactly.
becomes prime
So-
minister if there's no parties, and like
Right. And that's the whole problem.
But-
Honestly, like we just need stronger leadership that is willing to do crazy things. Like, I don't care what people think about
Like
Trump as
blackface?
a human being.
not that
Um,
crazy. Yeah.
No, not that kind of crazy. Okay.
No.
Okay.
But like
'Cause I'm like,
people
we
need
were already
to
there.
like I think that, you know, Bukele out of El Salvador, you get Milei out of Argentina, even Trump, you know, you get guys like Putin out of Russia. I don't really care that people like maybe agree or disagree with their ideologies and like their process. The point is that they're strong individuals that kind of say like, hey, listen, I'm either self-appointed or I've been elected and I'm making moves. And
Yeah.
we have sat
And-
here as a country vacillating in, you know, like just running in circles, chasing tails. And that's
And-
half the problem, right? Is that it's this
Well,
cycle.
half the problem is that some of those guys are running around just chasing tail and not doing their fucking
Well,
job either.
But that's
yeah,
exactly,
Yeah,
but
but
yeah.
all of that is the truth, you know, like you
Yeah.
joke about it, but it's like, this is all the truth, is that we're just kind of, and I believe that, like, I used to be very active in politics. Like, my parents had us involved since we were old enough to stuff envelopes in mailers, right? Like, they believed that that was part of our civic duty, right? I
Yeah.
cannot tell you how frustrated I've become as somebody who's way too young to be frustrated. I am so frustrated with the entire system that it's like,
Well, and that's the thing. Like, it drives you to not want to participate because
Yeah.
you're like, it seems
What's the
also
point?
futile, right? Like,
Yep.
you're just like,
Yeah.
it doesn't
and you
matter who
also
I
spend
vote for
half the
because I'm going to
time-
get a shitbag either way.
right. And you also spend half the time explaining to people. Like, I had to say to my friend, she's like, oh, I vote liberal. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Why? And she's like, because I'm a liberal person. Like, I believe in freedoms and rights. And I was like,
Interesting. So do I. Yeah.
I was
yeah,
like,
but like,
okay.
But how do you connect that to the Liberal Party? Like,
Because
we need to.
nominally, that's the same name, same word.
And
And I
that's
was
where
like,
I think that we
that's-
need to force the parties to
and-
rename themselves, because naming your party the Liberal Party and naming your party the Conservative Party doesn't make
That's right.
either of those parties either of those things.
The Green Party is the only one that's allowed to stay the same.
Even they're not all that particularly green.
No,
Like, I am sure they are not on
because the
board with
liberals
fucking-
technically legalized weed, and 90% of people vote green because they're potheads, and they're like, they're gonna do weed, man.
But I'm sure like they're
Like-
on board with the whole EV thing, and those, as we know, are not green at all. So
Yeah, but that's that depends how much research you actually do into it.
Yeah.
Right.
But right,
Speaking of
fuck,
rabbit holes,
I lost the whole train of thought because
yes,
That's
our
okay.
whole system is fucking broken.
yeah, we're
Yeah.
done.
It doesn't work. This is part of the problem.
Like,
Back
the
to
slimmest
not-
hope
not-
we have for our humanity right now is the
Not you,
voting
the
book
problem on YouTube.
yeah,
Different kind
although
of
he
problem.
is also a problem. But yes, back to the orange wave, or lack thereof. More like, what's that tidal bore where it just
Ripple?
comes in at like a foot high and that's about it? Like,
the orange
Yeah.
ripple,
yeah,
or to quote the Blues Brothers movie, an orange whip.
Oh,
there you go.
this is where I was getting.
Or an
You said
orange
man.
sploosh. Yeah.
Everybody hates Trump. Everybody hates fucking this, that, or whatever. And I'm like, if you break down what every one of those people are doing, they're trying to boost up their economy as a country. Whether you hate it, agree with it, disagree with it, doesn't matter.
I
Trump
think-
at this,
I think an old adage bodes well for most Canadians with this Trump thing is those in glass houses should not throw stones.
yeah.
Absolutely. But you gotta appreciate here Singh's optimism and his
Actually,
I guess
it's more of a comedy routine.
yeah, I mean, yes, but
I'm
like you got to appreciate the energy. Like he's completely out to lunch, but like they are so never trust the polls. I trust the comment section in videos online as to the real pulse of what's going on versus the polls,
sure.
because they will generally tell you what the people actually think. But it seems that they are losing favor. Shocking, I know. Uh, but when he was pressed about it and asked if that he would prop up a liberal minority government in the House again, he insisted that he is running to become prime minister. Like,
That's
you got to
insanity.
appreciate the cojones on that guy.
Yeah,
Like,
that's insanity.
yeah. Um,
I think his turban's a little too tight.
yeah.
No, I actually watched him put it on and it didn't seem like it at all.
Well, maybe he was nervous and didn't like crank it down as tight as he needed to, but like,
He was talking about the cool things he did when he was 20. He was in his
yeah,
20s.
he
I'm really excited. I didn't know this. I'm very excited to know that he's a Western alumni.
yeah, well, there you go. Now you know. But yes, he started off his campaign trail in Montreal, interestingly, a French-speaking area. Um,
He speaks better French than Carney, though, doesn't he?
apparently, I'm gonna skip some of these things and maybe we'll just keep talking bullshit. But yes, so one of the things that has come out today, it's not in the notes, but so Carney, who kicked out our boy Chandra, sorry, the Liberal Party kicked out our boy Chandra there.
So that Carney could actually maybe be elected to something.
It turns out then, like, no real reason given, he's gone. Carney now is taking his seat, which is super weird that he got kicked out and now Carney gets his seat. It's almost as if the whole Liberal Party election thing was a scam to begin with. One of the things they were
What?
complaining about Chandra was that like he came right out and said, you don't need to be able to speak French in order to be prime minister in this country. And now, shockingly, Carney has refused to have the French language debate, which is tradition, as far as I know, since like the dawn of fucking time in this country.
That
Yeah.
was a mistake of the English way back.
Yeah. Should have just trampled those fucking French people. But like, sorry, like, I mean, we were talking earlier about the debates and how everyone should be in the debates. And here you have now one of the candidates and one of the primary parties just being like, yeah, we're not going to do that. So rather than just like hold the debate and not have him there, they just canceled it outright. They're like, okay, we're just not going to do the French debate.
Wow.
Like, how the fuck does that happen?
Well,
Well,
because
either
the French debate is predominantly for what? Quebec?
I was gonna
Yes.
say either
And they're
people are
probably gonna vote-
finally
they're go-
over it.
They're going to vote bloc.
Yeah.
Maritimes are
Yeah.
going to vote liberal because they don't, or because they're just
Well, not necessarily. There's
Well,
another
maybe-
article in here about
well,
Newfoundland that we'll get to.
Well, Newfoundland, true. Well, but
And
if
they're
you
the
Yeah,
ones
go
that
to
are usually on the
Newfoundland,
pogey.
if you're in Newfoundland, don't say you're from the Maritimes. I learned
Well,
that. So, but yeah,
yeah, it is interesting though that he gets to, decide like that I'm just not going to participate and they cancel the whole thing. Like, does that not kind of show that like the media is kind of maybe in their pockets a little bit? Like,
Just titch.
just like
Haven't they
Okay.
always?
un petit peu.
No.
He
Un
won't
petit
understand
peu.
what that means, but like,
really, I don't believe that.
but
Yeah, 75%.
the
On the
French
internet, they
debate,
say that it's not. It's free. I believe
Yeah.
that.
and
Just 75% in the pocket.
his reasoning is like it's cost something like $75,000 or something to do the debate, and it's like, okay, so you're gonna fuck off to England and France to go and like polish the royal knobs and stuff like that, which I'm
Yeah.
sure cost at least that when you like account for all of the things like the plane and the security and the this and the that and everything else, and all of these other things that he's pissed away money on so far in this first 2 weeks. But to do a debate for the election for the country is somehow like when you put $75,000 and spread that across the voting age population, that works out to almost nothing per person. That all of a sudden is too big of an expense.
It's
When-
all really quite obnoxious. honestly.
Yes.
I I don't like, what do you say? It's a clown world. It's really hard to sometimes believe that this is existing the way it is.
Yeah, I know. Like, the whole thing is just like absurd and like
Part of the issue, I think, though, is comes around to what you said earlier, though, Gavin, was most people they're going to try and turn this into a one issue election.
Yep.
And that's gonna, like, people can't see beyond. They'll cut their nose up to spite their
Well,
face.
and the funny thing is that like, okay, so for a lot of us, or at least 2 million-ish people, it's going to become a one issue thing, and that's going to be the firearms issue.
Mhm.
The other thing is that like the left, the liberals specifically, um, they seem to be making it about shit that hasn't even existed. So like I've already seen people on the left that are voting liberal that are all about, oh, the conservatives are going to open up the abortion debate and remove abortion. Like, none of them have said that.
Mm.
Not one. Nobody has said that they're going to do that. But here they are making up shit, like getting each other worked up into this fucking rage about this issue and going to not vote conservative purely over something that doesn't even exist. Like, it would be one thing if they said that they're going to do it or whatever, and then people have their opinions on it and they can, but they have all for the last, as far as I know, ever since Trudeau started running, nobody has said that they are going to undo anything that currently exists in the country. At most, people said that, like, hey, if people wanted to, they were willing to have the debate, which, as a politician that's representing your riding, that's your
Yeah.
fucking job. Like, whether you agree with it or you don't agree with it is irrelevant. You are representing those constituents and you need to listen to their opinions on topics and present that.
Yeah, I
That's your
agree.
job. So, but like they're just doing that. It's so unfucking believable that like the left seems to be making this as, a single issue vote, but on an issue that isn't even a fucking issue at this point
But
because it hasn't even been brought up.
it's really, I don't know. I'm still of the opinion that like too many people, like they're master manipulators because they've managed to find the demographic of people and like twist the system to be effective for that. You've got people
The firearms issue.
pissed. You got people like twisted and divided about firearms. You got people like this whole
Yeah.
tariff thing is astounding.
Oh, it's just a
It's the
distraction.
dumbest
It's
thing, and
so
also
stupid.
reminds me how much people have zero idea about the supply chain at all
Or
and
how tariffs
international
work,
affairs.
or how
I was
anything
like,
works.
so you understand that our government is the one that institutes the tax?
Yeah.
What?
And they're the ones that get the money.
Yeah, I'm
Like,
like, what? You guys are dumb. Anyways, there's that,
yeah.
and then you see things like Doug Ford having a power trip and like pulling American booze off the liquor
Yeah.
shelves right before an election. And you're like, all of this is just such pandering. But the part that alarms me, I think, the most is how much people are following it, right?
Well,
Because they're so like we talk like they're dumb. We talk like
yeah.
these politicians are dumb. They are some of the smartest people ever because they have
Yeah.
managed to like
Game the system.
yeah,
Fool
they
all
have
of us
managed to
just
like it's like a massive cult.
yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Well,
And
Well,
people
the
are
booze
following
thing
it.
is the hilarious thing because like our economy, and we've said it before, isn't even the size of the Texas economy. And
Oh,
that's not even the biggest one in the United States. But going specifically on the booze thing, I saw somebody on the social media who I don't really like, but they made a good point. So if you look at like the amount of sales that go into Canada, booze in general is like nothing.
yeah.
Crown Royal, a Canadian company, their sales into the US are far more
Yeah.
than the sales of alcohol into Canada from the US. So if they just boycotted Crown Royal and no other Canadian booze,
Yeah.
that would impact us far more than us
Absolutely.
taking the booze off of the shelves, not even countrywide, but like in certain provinces.
Yeah, and just like the
Like,
the attitude towards things, like I can't believe how many Canadians were excited that Ford was going to cut
yeah,
power to a bunch of people in New York State. And all like and by excited, I mean certainly not upset. I was like, that's a pretty big demographic of people that require hydro and are more vulnerable
yeah.
individuals. And I'm like, I'm
Oh,
just not, I don't love how Canadians are showing their true colors.
no.
I don't love it because I'm like,
Well, it's a reflection of how they were 3 or 4 years ago.
yeah, and but this is the thing is that like this recidivism, you think, oh, it's situational. It'll happen once, this event will change, and then another event, which is less, comes up.
Yeah.
And like it's a giant social experiment that, we have failed as people.
Oh,
And when folks,
continue to fail worse and worse
yeah,
every time we
and
take the test. Yeah.
as people, like I I don't know what people are patriotic about, like Tim Hortons and hockey,
No, they're
because
patriotic about hating Orange Man
mm,
because that's what the media tells them. And this is one
yeah,
of the funny
I know.
things that I'm seeing here. So, um, Danielle Smith, Alberta Premier, went, and talked to Trump and all the stuff, right? Like she's doing her job.
Yep.
Um, she asked them to like, can you guys like put the tariffs on pause? Because like we've got an election going on, and so like nothing's gonna happen for the next until the 28th. Can we like, and now all of a sudden people are like Canadians are getting upset and are making
Ah,
false allegations that like she has asked Trump to interfere with the election. So like now all of a sudden patriotism interfering with election bad, but we still don't have any clarity on who was involved with the previous election interference by the Chinese and Indian government. And some of those people might still be running, but we're worried that Orange Man
yeah, but it's Trump
might,
derangement syndrome.
yes,
Doesn't matter.
but we've now got this elbows up fucking nonsense against it.
Oh,
Like it is fake patriotism where to the point
yeah.
where like
Because what are
and
you?
both sides are
What are
doing it,
you?
which is appalling.
Yeah, but I guess that's my whole point. What are you fighting for? That's the thing.
Yeah.
What are you fighting for? Are you just doing something because, like, I mean, I've gone to sporting events where I didn't know shit about the game or the players, but I got
Yeah.
sure wound up because I was with the right group of people and, I had my face painted and I was cheering for a team,
Yeah.
right? I think we've all done that, but the stakes are a little high for this to be a college game,
Yeah.
right? And
Absolutely. Like
there's just a little bit of a wild identity crisis that, anytime I see people, I'm like, listen, and I said this before, I'm glad that you're aware of Canadian businesses now. Like, if
yeah,
this is all that comes out of this, please, I appreciate it. But are you going to bail on this ideology as soon as it's uncomfortable for you? Because right now you're talking like this is your life and death matter, that this is a soapbox that you're going to stand on. But the minute it becomes uncomfortable, are you prepared to continue standing on this? Are you going to do this for 5 years straight with no break?
yeah.
No.
Exactly, right? You're going to go right back to shopping on Amazon, shopping
Yeah.
on this, doing that. Like you don't chains, like people also are not paying attention to the fact that like your immigration issue is causing Canadians to lose jobs or not gain jobs, like naturalized and citizen Canadians,
Yeah.
and this is all, so to me it's
No,
very
I know.
like
Another
surface.
thing that you said earlier, Liz, was years ago, I was working for a company and a lot of
Mm,
contact with a guy down the States, and he said, "What's the difference between an American and a Canadian?" I said, "I don't know." He said, Canadians are unarmed Americans with health care."
yeah,
I mean,
and not even better healthcare.
No.
Yeah.
Well,
We just pay for it differently.
30
yeah.
years ago, maybe,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we are so close. I understand we're different.
Yeah.
There is a difference, but who here doesn't watch American TV, use American products? Like
Mhm.
like I was talking to my buddy the other day. Oh, we got to get all the American products, blah blah blah. So you park in your Ford, park in your GMC? No. I mean, those are American
But it's getting
companies.
to the
Like it's
point though
just like,
where like we've
don't be an
started
idiot.
like pissing on American companies. Like there's a bunch of beer companies that people are like, fuck that, I'm not drinking it anymore. Except that like the beer that we're selling in this country under those brands is actually brewed in Canada. So you're just shitting on Canadians without even realizing it. And talking to some guys when I was at the range the other day that were, involved in the military for a number of years and everything else is like, we rely on the US. And as much as our politicians don't like to agree with this, like if we were to ever be in a problem militarily, who do you think we'd be calling to help us out?
Right.
The Americans. They're our like closest ally, not just geographically, but in every other sense of the word. They are right there and they will gladly come and help us if we
Absolutely.
need it. Except that, like, if we start pissing them off too much, do you think they're going to pick up that phone? Like, I'm not worried about them invading, but they won't
No.
help us
No,
because there won't be any need. But
yeah.
let's
No,
close
and I
on,
We're gonna
I
shoot
I
ourselves in our own feet.
yeah.
yeah,
No, we won't
I
because we don't
have
have
like
guns anymore.
I have a little bit of a soft spot, I guess, for some of the historical elements that kind of make up the states. First of all, I do think that their political system is better.
Yeah.
Really, I do. Um,
It's
I
not
think
great, it needs work, but it's a
it's
step better
yeah,
than ours. Yeah.
yeah. I think privatized healthcare and like I mean they have a mix, but I
Yep.
think that their healthcare system is better. Um, I I also think that the way that their country came to being, I love myself a good revolution. Because you
Yeah.
know what? It means that people were fighting for what they believed in. We
Yeah.
don't really have that. What?
No.
People are fighting for what they believe in. The most amazing thing in Canadian history to this point, in my opinion, was the trucker convoy. Because guess what? We started an international movement that said, hey, we're done. We will go against our government. And to this day, people are still in jail for it. And
Yep.
that was 3 years ago, you
Wow.
know?
Well,
Like,
our ancestors did invade and conquer.
Yeah.
yeah,
And we ate the food that Madison had prepared, thinking that we wouldn't make it there. But we are a long way from that, and I certainly
right.
wouldn't
Yeah.
want to have to do that again because, yeah, it's stupid. But let's close on this one last sort of thing here. So, election kicked off the other day.
Yep.
PP goes and has a rally in Toronto or just outside of Toronto. They end up having to close the doors and all of that stuff because so many people showed up.
Oh yeah, yeah. They were starting to hand out T-shirts or whatever or something,
Yeah.
right?
So like pretty incredible. I will actually be at the one in Hamilton tomorrow night. So if you're going to be there, look for me. I'll be in the
Nice.
crowd of hopefully thousands of people. Now, Carney decided to start his election
Campaign.
campaigns in Newfoundland. He
Oh,
also had to lock the doors on people, but for a different reason.
different reasons.
The fishermen in Newfoundland, especially the people that are going crabbing and stuff like that, decided to protest his first day on the campaign trail. And as a result, the cops were called and had to lock everyone out of the building. So this is why I still have some hope. Because stuff like this is happening. Like you have a
Yeah.
part of the world that traditionally would vote that way because they like the free stuff. But there was enough of them there protesting this guy that they had to lock them out of the building and not allow anyone in. That's amazing.
I think there was more outside than in as well.
Yes. So
Did you see the video of him walking through a plant?
Yeah.
And everybody's trying to go, come on. And they're all standing there, arms crossed, looking at him. It's like, this is so exciting. And there's three guys there basically picking their noses, just like, can I get out of here?
Well, yeah,
Yep.
and that's
They got
what I've
paid
heard. Yeah.
overtime to work to be there for the photo op.
Yeah.
So,
But then nobody wanted to take a picture with him.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
but this is also
Yeah.
the problem, and this is a conversation for another day, is that I don't know about everybody else's experience. Okay. I only have my perspective.
But
But I can tell you that the representatives that make the law, the lawmakers, I would love to know what their resume looks like. Like, have you ever been in this industry? Is the person that's the minister of whatever, whatever, have they actually worked in that industry? And not as some like high level board member. I'm talking
but
like,
like, yeah,
have you
ground
been,
level, like
yeah, like,
I'll take
oh,
no for
actually,
you're the minister,
500.
yeah.
yeah, right? You're the minister of agriculture. Okay. Have you ever milked a cow?
Yeah, or at least like worked
Have you
in
shoveled shit?
anything somewhat related to the
Yeah.
industry, but at
And
like
like
a
on ground level, like
yeah, not
understanding
I owned a
people.
company that did this. No,
Yeah.
but like actually,
Chances
Yep.
are no.
yeah. I mean,
I
and
know.
that's why like when
I
Trudeau
saw it.
won originally and he put, Harjit in charge of like the military stuff and everything, it's great. Like someone that was actually in the
Yeah.
military and like was there and did no. So even
Yeah.
when they do, which is rare,
Yeah.
they still somehow find a way to put like the most useless fucking person in place.
Right. And I mean, I get it. Not everybody is designed to be a leader, but I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that these guys aren't going through like Myers-Briggs and leadership training.
No.
So, like I just found that a lot, like the short period of time that I worked with the government. I'll tell you this, out of 50 people that I worked with, um, I would say probably 10% of them worked in private industry before they became a public servant. And I think
Yeah.
I'm being generous. I think I'm being generous. And when I say private, I mean for a very short time, maybe worked, you know,
At the
while they
corner
were in
store.
school and then, moved into government positioning. And that's astounding to me because I'm like, you have zero clue. You're so detached. And maybe that's why I'm like
Well, it's like
not
teachers
very
going to
hopeful.
school to become teachers.
Or a guy that
Yeah.
has been the governor of a bank in another country for the last decade
Yeah.
and hasn't really done anything, all of a sudden becoming PM, who at one point was actually interviewed about politics and said, "Don't ask your banker about politics because that's a bad
Saw
idea." I'm
that today.
paraphrasing, but we'll end on that. So,
As I'm
Liz,
like yawning.
yeah, Liz,
Sorry.
when you are not here venting about politics, where can people find you? Any more women's self-defense classes coming up or anything you want to plug?
No, I'm
Eric, where can people
pausing
find you
for a
then?
while.
Here, feedback at CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. Tell us if we're doing a good job or not.
Yeah.
Or personally, Pinewood Estates 3342@gmail.com.
Awesome. I'll plug Pierre and his other halves thing. So off the wall customizing, if you want t-shirts and things like that, I'm sure they can hook you up. You can find me on Instagram, UrbanCTA, or if you're also in Hamilton tomorrow at the rally, look for me. I'll be there. It'll be a good time. Also,
Love
if
it.
you've listened to the podcast, this song, you deserve a discount. So use the code Patriot at checkout at ragnaroktactical.ca. With all of that, apologies to Rod. There's a lot going on this week with the election and all that. So he's been busy. I've been busy. The podcast has been busy. We'll get it sorted. Hopefully, we'll have him on once we get all of our free stuff back. Oh, not free stuff because we don't want those guys to win. We want our guns back. Not that they've been taken from us because they're still hanging on the wall behind me, but we would like to be able to use those things again legally.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, single issue voter. So get out, vote. Remember, if you're voting conservative, head out to the polls on the 28th. If you're voting liberal, your day to vote is on the 29th. Make sure you get those dates correct because it makes a
Yep.
big difference. We value your opinion, feedback, Eric already dropped it to reach out. We'd also like to remind you all that you are a small fringe minority with unacceptable views.